let me do this next one. I think I got 10 minutes, so I think I can do this. I'm going to use a large copy version of this. Man, I'm always looking for stuff. I'm always looking to feed my brain, because it's so hungry for knowledge. And what's interesting about that is I share the same trait as some of the top people in the world. So would you like to know the two common traits of folks like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, and Larry Page? Okay. Do you know the two traits that they all have in common? Okay. And they're uncommon traits. You don't find this in the normal population, because if the normal population had this, then, this is what sets them apart. Number one, they're each a voracious learner. They look at learning as a lifelong event. They're lifelong learners, okay? And the thing that's common about them, they spend at least 5 hours a week. It's the 5-hour rule. The 5-hour rule is they spend 5 hours a week learning. Learning something new, because learning, definition of learning is learning something that you didn't know before. Acquiring knowledge. 5 hours a week. And that's why, we talk about reading a book and going to hotspot meetings, getting conference calls, so you can become voracious learners, just like these 5 awesome entrepreneurs and businessmen, right? What's interesting about it is Bill Gates doesn't think of himself as a businessman. He says business is basic. Profit, loss, selling something. He thinks of himself as a scientist. Elon Musk is the same thing. He doesn't consider himself a businessman, right? They don't box themselves into that mold. They spend 5 hours a week. So what are you doing with your 5 hours a week to be like them? Are you reading your books? Are you going to hotspot meetings trying to learn something new? Are you on the conference calls trying to learn something new? Are you a lifelong learner? See, most people are not, right? But what are you doing to share that same capacity with them? An interview, they interviewed Gates. He says, do you dislike being called a businessman? Gates, yeah. Of my mental cycles, I devote maybe 10% to business thinking. Business isn't that complicated. I wouldn't want to put it on my business card. And then the interviewer goes, well, what then? Scientist. Unless I've been fooling myself, when I read about great scientists like, say, Crick and Watson and how they discovered DNA, I get a lot of pleasure. Stories of business success doesn't interest me in the same way, right? That's really fascinating, someone who doesn't consider himself a businessman. Elon Musk, the same thing. He doesn't consider himself a businessman either. He thinks of himself as more of a designer, engineer, technologist, and even a wizard, right? Larry Page has been known to spend time talking in depth with everyone from Google janitors to nuclear fusion scientists, always on the lookout for what he can learn from them, right? Voracious learners, okay? Here's the other thing that is common about them, is that they're called what's called polymaths. So what's a polymath? What a polymath is someone who becomes competent in at least 3 diverse domains and integrates them into a skill set that puts them in the top 1% of their field. Top 1%. See, the problem with our education system is it stovepipes learning. This is chemistry. This is math. This is English. We all stovepipe it, right? We never see the big picture until we get out to the work world. Like, I never understood calculus, the reason for cosine and sine, and determining rise over run and curves. I never understood it until I got in aerospace engineering and learned that the envelope of an airplane, where the highest performance, and the reason why there is an envelope is because of calculus. And you can calculate the top performance envelope, where you go beyond that is dangerous. And when a pilot's, flying a $10 million aircraft at Mach 5, you need to know what your limits are, especially if you're dogfighting the enemy, right? So performance envelope's everything. Well, I never understood how to even calculate performance envelope without calculus. Calculus is awesome when you know how it's applied. Problem is, we just learn sine, cosine. We learn, like I've had a ton of math, algebra, calculus, why? Geometry, why? Well, if you're an aerospace engineer, you put all that stuff together, it all integrates. The problem with our learning is that we just learn this, this, and this, right? We don't see how it comes together, all right? Now, let me give you an analogy. It's like learning what a wrench does, learning what a timing light does. How does a timing light work? How does a wrench work? How does a socket wrench work? How does a torque wrench work? Okay, you have a class on wrenches. You have a class on diagnostic tools. Well, that's not going to mean anything until someone says, I want you to tear this engine apart. I want you to disassemble it and assemble it. And through that process, we're going to learn how a wrench works, because we're going to actually apply it to this thing. Okay, you can learn about internal combustion in a very stovepipe mentality, but until you understand how it applies to an engine, right, you don't have any clue. So that's why you're bored at school, because you don't know how it comes together at the end. In fact, Elon Musk are putting schools together that starts with the end in mind, and then you learn all the things you need to learn in order to make that happen. When I've looked at anything that I've put intense learning into, like one thing I did a long time ago was back in the early days of multimedia presentations, like really early. I was doing something for the company that I was totally fascinated in, and I spent all-nighters learning this piece of software to put this multimedia presentation together. All-nighters. I mean, I was so absorbed in it, right? But I did it because I knew what I wanted to accomplish, and I learned the tools along the way on how to do it using this software tool. So I had the end in mind of what I wanted to accomplish. Then all the things I learned kind of coalesced and came together. So I was motivated to learn something because it was going to get me what I wanted. So what a polymath is they get really good at different disciplines. It could be science, it could be engineering, it could be English. I mean, they can be diverse things that they can put it together and then create something awesome and new and original, right? That's what the top people do. They don't like stovepipe everything. You know what I mean? So when you look at the Alliance and what we do, what are some things that you got to get good at? Okay, so when I look, beginning with the end in mind of what I want to accomplish, I want to be able to impact other people in a positive way in their lives, right? By teaching them in our model of business, life insurance on a lead program, how to sell, how to recruit, and how to build. So if I want to be really good at that, okay, what do I need to learn in order to make that happen? What disciplines in my life do I need to immerse myself in to get really good at? What are the 3 things? It could be 4 things. And I was thinking about it over the past couple days because this has been on my mind since I read this article. If you want to be really good at this business, whether it's just selling, or if it's just building, or if it's doing both, selling, recruiting, and building, what ultimately do you got to be really good at? Okay, so the number one thing, I think, is you got to be good at influencing people. Okay, these are broad categories, underneath of which involves particular skills. Okay, so you got to be good at influencing people, influencing your clients to purchase the product to protect their families, good at influencing producers on, building up their GMR so they can produce more, right? Finding out about what it is these people want, what you want, so I can figure out how to help you get it so that you'll be, So the whole idea, I think, of the skill of influencing people. So why do you think I'm so immersed in neurolinguistic programming? Because to me, it's one of the ultimate ways of influencing people using Jedi mind tricks that work, okay? To me, it's like the ultimate in Jedi mind tricks. But there are a lot of ways to do it out there, right? You have to understand people, and then you have to know how to communicate with them to get them to move. Okay, the most wealthiest people in our business are people who can get other people to move. I call that influencing, influencing people. So you got to immerse yourself. So when you talk about the 5 hours a week and what you need to learn, man, you can't get enough. You can't read enough books on skills, people skills, how to get people to move, right? I mean, going as far as hypnosis, right? I mean, all kinds of the world of influence, understanding people and how to move them. That's huge in this business. To me, man, if you can become an expert, okay, you'll be huge in this business. Here's the second one. Like, again, there could be other ones in this, but this is the second one that comes to mind when I think about what is another skill, another discipline that you need to be really good at to learn. And to me, it's learn the skill of persevering, okay, hanging in there. The skill of persevering encompasses a whole bunch of subset of things, right? Persevering is learning how to handle negative, how to handle when your emotions are down. Under the perseverance thing is attitude, how to develop your attitude. Part of that developing attitude is being around people. The association we talked about is all that part about hanging in there and persevering because you're around other people that are persevering. You hear success stories, which helps you persevere longer with us, and that's why we always talk about perseverance. Grit. Angela Duckworth wrote a book called Grit. Grit talks all about perseverance, and that book rocks, you know, on perseverance. And so it encompasses all kinds of things. Perseverance, like your why. Underneath perseverance is, why am I doing this? What is important to me? What is my purpose in life? You will persevere because you're working for a purpose, not for a thing, not for a, you know, things will motivate you, right? Okay, but important things will help you persevere. Here's another thing that will get you moving. So again, under perseverance, understanding the negative aspect of motivation, which is getting away from something, going away from the thing you hate the most. You hear Andy Albright talking about all that all the time. And in this book that Patrick and I are reading, it talks about the positive motivation factor of things that you dislike and hate, that you want to get away from. It's a thing that will make you move like this, getting away from that feeling of being broke all the time, getting away from that feeling, giving someone your credit card and wondering, oh my God, I hope there's enough room on that card to pay for this dinner for my family. That sinking feeling, right? It's like, and you hear Andy talk about this all the time. Fitz talks about it all the time. I never want to be that broke again. I will do anything never to go back to that. It's a powerful thing to move you from that to moving forward. But what will continue to propel you forward is your purpose, your why, right? So I talked a lot about under the category of being an expert in perseverance. When you look at people that are experts at perseverance, they have those qualities. They know why they want to do what they do, right? They have the ability to manage their emotions, right, when things aren't going so well. And they believe in a purpose, right? And they also hate never going back to the way they were, how they were living before. Do you see how that all kind of work to propel you to persevere? And in the Bible, it talks about running the race. St. Paul talks about that, right? So I think perseverance is an important thing. Learning how to handle negative. You know, that's all that attitude thing. So perseverance. The next one, there's some, here's the other one I think is self-discipline. Learning how to discipline yourself, your flesh. Again, you know, there's some overlap, you know, perseverance, but self-discipline, time management is under self-discipline. Disciplining yourself to do what you need to do to maximize the results of where you're going. Okay, so self-discipline, mastering self-discipline, which is habit, creating the positive habits, getting rid of old habits, and replacing with new habits, right? It's managing your schedule, being awesome at time management, which is a skill, right? Which is a skill. Super important in terms of, you know, being a polymath, okay? There are other things that can be done in here. I don't got time to really go into it. But I want you to think about those things. Being a voracious learner and then excelling in very specific disciplines so that you can pull them together with the end in mind, which is building this business, being top sales people, whatever it is you want to accomplish. You've got to master those three things, okay? And they're among others, but there's a lot of things that fit in there. So anyway, hopefully that'll kind of get you propelled forward in thinking about what it is you need to get really, really good at developing those skills, just like these guys, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, these top guys, man. You can do the same thing if working on those two traits, being a voracious learner and then excelling in multiple disciplines. Not a lot. Okay, some people talk about driving one skill deep and be an expert in it. Okay, it's not really that. It's not just one thing. It's two or three that you get really good at. You put it together that will get you what it is you want to accomplish. All right? So anyway, that's it, gang. That's all I got for you. I hope that helped. God bless you, man. Let's make this a great week. Remember, before you do anything that creates anxiousness in you, man, get fired up. Man, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited making dials. I'm excited going into this home. I'm excited about doing door knocks, man. I'm excited about increasing my GMR. I'm excited about buying leads. Something good's going to happen, right? Something good's going to happen. Huge, huge. All right, man. Rock on, everybody. God bless.